Let's update the project to Laravel 12 and Tailwind CSS 4. As it says in the documentation on the upgrade guide page, there is a link at the very bottom which leads to GitHub, and this page shows all the changes to files in the default Laravel project that were made since Laravel 11. And I have basically gone ahead and copied over all these changes in files one by one and replaced existing content in the project files with this new content of each file that needs to be updated. And among those files, composer.json as well as package.json that list project dependencies. So that means that before proceeding further, we'll have to run composer update to update all PHP dependencies, as well as npm update for updating JavaScript dependencies. Let's do so right now. I'm going to switch to project folder in the terminal and run composer update to update PHP dependencies. And after this, let's also run npm update and wait until all JavaScript dependencies will be updated. And just for completeness sake, I'm also going to fix tests in the project, even though we're not using tests. But I still prefer to fix this test setup, and to do so, I'm firstly going to replace tests folder in the project with the new tests folder from the default Laravel 12 application. And once that's done, there is another thing to do, and that is opening up example test PHP file, which is inside of feature folder. And in here, I'm going to use a refresh database trait for this test class, which is basically going to initialize database before running these tests. And in our application, when we load the main page, it is going to make database call. So this trait is necessary in here to initialize database and run all migrations before executing these tests. Alright, so if we'll switch over to the terminal and try to run tests again by running PHP artisan test, sure enough, we're going to see passing tests. So that's done. And finally, let's see how the project looks like in the browser after upgrade. I'm going to run development server by executing npm run dev. Here we can see that Laravel 12 is used, so it tells us that project dependencies have been successfully updated. And if I'm going to open up project page in the browser, we'll see that it loads, but it has some styles that are broken. For example, containers are not centered on the page, and also input fields lost their styles. That is because we were using Tailwind CSS Forms plugin, and all it does is it basically allows us to easily customize form controls by using Tailwind CSS classes. So I'm gonna switch over to the terminal and install this plugin separately by using this command. The plugin name that we need is called Tailwind CSS/forms. And to include this plugin in Tailwind CSS 4, we'll have to open up our CSS file where we include Tailwind CSS itself, and write under Tailwind CSS import statement, I'm going to add this plugin called Tailwind CSS Forms, like so. And if we're gonna restart our development server, sure enough, we're going to see that all input fields have received proper styles. In our case, there is only one input field, but that is enough to make sure that this plugin was installed successfully. Now we're going to fix container configurations. In Tailwind CSS, container classes are primarily used to center content on a page. And also there is another issue related to this pagination. As you can see, project theme is light, but pagination theme is dark. So let's fix these two things. First of all, I'm going to switch over to Tailwind CSS docs, and right here we'll have to copy this container configuration and paste it in our CSS file, which will basically ensure that all container classes are going to position all the content in the center, and those containers will have some paddings from both sides, left and right. So after using this chunk of code in our CSS file, the page in the browser has to be refreshed automatically, and we're seeing the result. Now all containers are centering the content on the page. And as for the issue with pagination that has dark theme, let's open up dark mode page in here and copy the following lines. because in our project, in order to decide which theme to use, dark or light, we're using special class called dark, instead of relying on the current operating system theme. So if this class with the name of dark will be present on one of the ancestor elements in the markup, that element as well as all of its descendants are going to receive dark styles. Otherwise, they will receive light styles. So in our case, since we are not using dark class anywhere in our markup, we're seeing that pagination now has become light, just like we wanted to. And finally, last piece that we are going to fix is this dark border below the header. I'm basically going to make this border less noticeable, and to do so, let's explicitly apply color that is going to set the color of the border. And markup of this header is contained within header.blade.php file. Let's open this file up, and right here next to border B class, which adds bottom border, I'm also going to apply class that is going to set the color of this border. Let's say gray with a shade of 300. And we are good, so we were able to successfully upgrade project dependencies to Laravel 12 and Tailwind CSS 4. In the next lesson, we're gonna continue our development. Link to the source code of this project will be, as always, in the video description.